Welcome to the Ratbag Nomads. I'm riding my bicycle around the world, and I'm on a mission to show you that adventure is merely a mindset that can be achieved by anyone in any situation. So far in the series, I rode Alice the camel bike through Australia, caught a flight from Darwin to East Timor, and then cycled my way into Indonesia in the general direction of London. We'll return to the adventure to the remote Indonesian island of Flores. It's 700 kilometers long, covered in rainforest, surrounded by reef, and home to several large volcanoes. I've just arrived to the town of Larantuka, and after an interesting ferry ride, I've checked into a hotel to wash off the dust. Travelling by bicycle isn't always the funnest way to get about. You're exposed to the elements, and you are at the mercy of the people's land in which you travel. I find it's a balance of the good and the bad. Anyways, I didn't know it at this stage, but today was going to be one of those days that makes all the uncomfortable moments worth it. Back inside the courtyard of my hotel, there were soldiers performing and singing songs. I sat out the front of my room and watched, and learned that the army base next door had a parade happening. I was soon invited. At first I was a little bit hesitant to go into a military base, as I reminded myself I was on a remote Indonesian island, in an area with a history of political instability, and less than 500 kilometers away, a territorial conflict going on between Indonesia and West Papua. But I thought to myself, what the hell, and I went for a look. I sat off to the side, quietly watching, a little nervous to be there, as I'd been told that the military of Indonesia didn't have the best reputation. Soon an officer approached and informed me that the commanding officer had invited me to come and sit at his table. The commander had broad shoulders, shining white teeth, and a very polite manner. I shook hands with him and his wife, and we exchanged pleasantries. We sat at the front of the parade ground drinking coffee while the soldiers conducted their drills. I learned that he was conducting a dress rehearsal for the next day, as it was the 70th anniversary of the formation of the Indonesian military, an event that occurred after the surrender of Japan in World War II and the success of the Indonesian militia, who were fighting against the forces of the Netherlands and pro-Dutch civilians who were trying and failing at being able to regain their colony from influential nationalist leaders. The result was the declaration of the Republic of Indonesia and the military established. Each group of dancers represented a regiment stationed on one of the surrounding islands. I asked his rank, as my knowledge of military insignias was a little bit rusty. He was a lieutenant colonel and the officer in charge of the military forces of the eastern provinces of Indonesia. The colonel had tens of thousands of men under his command. This included armoured vehicles and naval vessels.
Can't believe I'm having a coffee with the lieutenant colonel, who is the commander of the military for Flores Island and the region. Thank you so much.
I felt privileged to have such an opportunity to be here and be in the company of the colonel, his men, and the community of Larantuka. One of the performers invited me to come up and dance with them. Luckily enough, I'd paid close attention to the routine. It was similar to the nutbush. I was beaming from my third cup of coffee, and while the colonel, his wife, and the other officers watched on, the scruffy-looking white man broke out the moves in fine form. The rest of the evening was full of selfies and invitations of hospitality. And at the end, I was told to be back at 8 AM sharp. The next morning, I arrived to watch the formal parade. Everybody was there again, this time in full costume and military parade dress. I was given a seat to the side of the parade. It seemed I had lost my celebrity status with all the formalities and traditions that were at play. After the ceremony, I was invited to lunch and I was introduced to other senior officers. I met the police commissioner who had served locally in the area, and then the local police chief, also a sitting politician from Jakarta, and the commander of the Special Operations Unit. I told stories of my adventures in broken English, of riding over the Andes, and of Alice the camel bike. I'm not sure if they understood what or who I was, or if I understood what they were saying, but we all just smiled, had a good time, and took lots of photos. I was overwhelmed at meeting so many dignitaries. After a few hours, I slipped away, armed with the police commissioner's business card and a handful of new Facebook friends, and made my way to the other side of the island, wondering what the last 48 hours had all been about.
Well, Selamat Siang, which means good afternoon in Indonesian. It's the same day since having the morning parade with the Lieutenant Colonel. I've left there, climbed over to the other side of the island, so I'm on the northern side of the island heading west, and basically the guide that I asked said that this was an ugly road with no chance of buying food. So I'm heading down the ugly road with no chance of buying food. It looks like it was once bitumen, but probably in the 70s, and now it's just a rough bits of chunks and rubbish, and it's great. There's not very many trucks. I'm actually overtaking cars, and I'm really looking forward to this. So, tidak apa-apa, which means no worries. Good morning out there, ratbags, and welcome to Flores, northern beach. I camped here last night after climbing over the mountain in the late afternoon, and now I'm camped up on this beach. I was meant to get up and leave early, but I haven't left early because it's so nice. It's crystal clear, coconut trees. Today I'm heading further west, just trying to pull myself away from here. In 1995, Flores Island was hit with a tsunami, wiping away towns with mind-boggling destruction. Mulmary, the largest town of the island, lost 95% of its buildings, and 2,500 people were killed, more than 5,000 injured, and 90,000 people were left homeless. The Indonesian government declared the earthquake-stricken area a national disaster and provided assistance, mostly transporting medicines and clothing, as malaria and influenza rose significantly after the disaster. The rescue operation was hindered by the onset of the rainy season. 25 years later, the people have moved back to the coast and the seas have calmed, and I learned from a priest that the road was never repaired. This changed my perspective of the road as I travelled along it. Just pulled up on the side of the road having some breakfast, and it's hard to get a moment alone when you're in Asia because everyone is here. Hi. Pulled up to say hello while I eat and watch me eat. It's hot. It's probably about, well, it feels like it's 50 degrees, but it's probably about 30. There's no wind, and I'm on the dirt, ugly road. It's got a bit ugly, but it's all right. Looking for somewhere to find some shade, and I'm gonna stop for the hot hours of the day underneath the coconut tree. Almost out of water. Been going through heaps of random villages, and obviously I'm off the beaten track now. Well, I'm on the beaten track. I'm off the beaten track. I'm off the busy section, so I haven't seen a car. I've seen 2 motorbikes today, and being a Sunday, most people are in church, but got a few headlands to pass. You can see there's lots of beaches. It's bloody hot. It's nice and dry. Who would have thought that it'd be dry on the west northern side, eh? It's the end of the day. It was a bloody hot day, and I have only really been riding again after a couple of hours for having a break, and I decided that I was going to ride into the dark and then make it to this beach, and then I went 2 kilometers and then found a river with a bit of grass. So I asked some locals if I could camp here, and they said that was great. Then they disappeared, and this bank behind me is the road. So I thought I was doing really smart thing and being out of visibility of the road. And then a car full of blokes turned up and stood up on the edge there and stared at me while I just hung out. But they did say to be careful of crocodiles. They said that they're not on this arm of the river, but they're on the other arm of the river. And I was able to do that through Google Translate through my phone. So that's a cool new added feature. Makes traveling a bit more easier. But yeah, got a heap of these. Well, we call them bush cashews in Cape York, but I think that they have another name. But they look like they got a cashew on top. But they're really sweet. The cashew part at the top's a bit poisonous. The cashew point at the top's a bit poisonous. But that's all really good. It's not going to kill you, it just makes your throat a bit sore. There's a big bushfire going on behind me. On top of, that's Mount Egan over there. That's a volcano. Could climb that.
It turned out that I'd camped next to a common watering hole, so I had constant visitors into the night. Everyone seemed friendly enough, so I just went to sleep.
Good morning, rat bags. Well, it's a 4 a.m. start today. I'm just on the outside of a village, riding west towards a town called Malmere, and from there I'll be able to get some more supplies. It'll be good to see if I can find something to eat other than noodles. But it's good. Coffee! The spaghetti bolognese from last night. Well, it turns out that I'm a local celebrity here. We're trying to get some water from the well, and everyone's come over and say good day. Say hello, Australia! Hello, Australia! Yeah! Yeah! Okay, we're gonna go to the well. Wow! Oh, look at that! Thanks, mate. Terima kasih banyak. All right, we're getting water today at the local well, and all the kids just came when I pulled up, and I didn't have to do a thing. So washing my dishes after having breakfast, and everyone's out to have a bit of fun.
After my early morning rise and pushing for the last few days to get to Malmere, I arrived expecting to find crystal clear water and magical beaches. But I missed the turnoff by 20 kilometres, going straight past without even knowing, and into the town centre. That turned out to be a real mess. I went to see the tsunami monument, but it was in disrepair and full of unsavoury characters. So I went and jumped on a bus, keen to escape the urban sprawl.
How many places in Asia can you go where you get both types of music on a bus ride?
My friend, the bus.
Country and Western.
My friend, cost the money.
My name is Eki. My name is Eki. My name is Eki.
I just decided to leave Morimera. It's stinking hot outside, so I'm catching the bus over the mountain to go climb a volcano tomorrow morning.
He's my friend. I go to Moni today. I go to Moni today. Is my friend.
Where you go to Moni today?
Yeah, today this bus. Today the bus go to Moni.
All of a sudden, everyone
It's like my friend.
Good morning out there, rat bags, and welcome to Komodo Volcano. Yeah, got up at 3:30 this morning and I've been climbing up this hill for the last 2 hours. Apparently there's some really cool lakes up here. I've stashed my bags in the bush. Unfortunately, I'm suffering from really bad bout of diarrhea, so I'm feeling quite weak and I'm trying to climb this volcano to check it out for the sunrise, but I'm having to stop and go to the toilet. I'm lucky that it's dark because it's still pretty populated this high, and you can hear the chickens and almost got kicked by a cow, but yeah, I'm sweating. It's probably about 10 degrees because we're quite high. I think the volcano's about 1,600 meters and 450 meters lower in altitude from the peak, so it's only going to get a bit more chillier, but I'm sweating. So yeah, we're heading up. Well, I've made it to the top of the volcano, the 3 lakes, and I'm not feeling very good. Monkeys have been trying to steal my stuff and people have been trying to take photos with me, but I haven't really been feeling very photogenic. It's probably about 16 degrees here and I am still sweating, so I've got some sort of a little bit of a virus, but that's alright. These things happen. But feeling really good in regards to the fact that I've managed to make it here and right up the hill. Indonesia is absolutely fantastic. People are great. I've just been called back to work, so I've got to go to Egypt and jump on a boat. I still expected to have another month riding, but obviously I need to go to work to fund my adventure. So obviously I'm gonna start off where I'm gonna finish up. I'm gonna park my bike up and then I'm going to come back to it and pick it up where I started off, where I finish off. I'm gonna park my bike and then where I finish off I'm gonna restart again and continue my cycle around the world. But hopefully this is actually good because I'll work and then I'll have enough money, and if I work now then I don't have to work again later, so it sets me up for the Himalayan winter, because that's going to be pretty hectic. I've only got a small window of about 3 months, so it's a good thing to do it now rather than have to stop and wait. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, this is Windy Cats of the Ratbag Nomads signing off at 1,625 meters above sea level, and saying thank you very much for watching, and I'm off to find a toilet. Check you later.
The footage is a bit rough, but we'll see what